Welcome back to another Ask a Pastor session here, and we will continue today with answering questions related to singleness. Last week, we talked briefly about what can I do to prepare for marriage. And now we want to address the question that can sometimes come out of that difficult question. What do I do if I want to be married but can't find someone to marry at present? The first thing I want to say here is that that's a very hard place to be in. It's a very difficult situation. I've seen the heartache that comes from being in that spot, and so we don't want to minimize that. We want to understand that is a hard spot to be in, and many people do find themselves in that spot. I want to be married, but right now I'm not finding someone. So let's begin to address what do you do if that's you're in that situation. And the first thing to say is don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. We've been talking about the church. We've been talking about the life of the church. We've been talking about the importance of it. And here we're reminded that we're specifically commanded to bear one another's burdens. We're specifically called to live in community. And so maybe that's you, but you maybe thought people would just assume that's the situation you're in, but you haven't actually said, hey, here's where I am. I really want to be married. I'm not finding someone. Come to a trusted brother or sister in the church. Come to your pastors and help, let others carry the burden with you. Don't do it alone. And connected to that, we can say it's part of the first thing is prayer. Not just for yourself, but we want to be praying together in the body for these situations. We want to be calling on the Lord to provide, right? God said marriage is good, and He's put that desire in you, and you're wanting to pursue it. And so let's call upon the Lord together. Don't keep that to yourself. Don't bear that burden alone. Join in with other saints who can pray with you, who can call upon the Lord with you, who can weep with you in times of struggle and times of difficulty. So don't do it alone, and pursue prayer, not just individually, but in the body of Christ with other believers. That's really important. Next, you want to make sure that you're doing what we talked about in the previous video. Cultivating those things that would prepare you for marriage, right? So it's not just someone who finds themselves, they're single, they'd like to be married. It's not just a waiting game. It's not just sitting around, right? You're pursuing the life of the body. You're seeking to grow in godliness. You're seeking to cultivate. If you're a young woman, feminine virtue, and as a man, cultivating masculine virtue, and you're seeking to grow in the skills that belong to the responsibilities that you would have as a man or a woman, a husband or a wife, a father or a mother. So don't neglect those labors. Don't leave those off just because you find yourself in that difficult situation of not finding someone. So continue to pursue that. The next thing that I want to point you to, and this is so important, is to cultivate contentment. This applies to any area of our lives. And in this area and specifically, it can be so easy to begin to develop a cynicism or a bitterness or a self-pity, any number of sinful responses that will not only be bad for your Christian life, but they're definitely not going to help you to find a future spouse. So cultivate contentment. And the promise that's given in Philippians chapter 4 and verse 13, Philippians chapter 4 verse 13, I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. Of course, we've seen that used in all kinds of ways that's not very legitimate. But this is a situation where it's exactly what Paul means, right? That's exactly what Paul means. He says, I have learned the secret of contentment. I know how to be brought low. I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty or facing hunger, abundance, and need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So cultivate contentment in this difficult season. That is something that will serve you in every area of your life. And it's very necessary in this situation where you want to be married but you're not finding a spouse. Cultivate contentment. And if you want to just dive into that, get a book like this by Jeremiah Burroughs, The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment, and you're going to get a master class on Christian contentment. And if you work through this prayerfully, if you apply it to your life, you are going to grow in contentment in every area of your life, and it's definitely going to serve you in this season of singleness. Next thing I want to point out is, if you find yourself in that situation, it's like, I'm just not finding someone, talk to a trusted older saint. It might be your parents, it might be someone else within the body, it might be a pastor. Talk to a trusted older saint about your list of things that you're looking for, your expectations. It may be that you have unbiblical expectations, that you have expectations that shouldn't be present, and that's what's kind of limiting your options in terms of looking for a spouse. There's non-negotiables that we would look at biblically, but you want someone who's got wisdom to just kind of put that out there and look at that together so you can determine whether or not you need to adjust those things. And the last area, and this is something that really we need to pursue together, because this is difficult. You find individuals who want to be married but can't find spouses, and there's, especially as you kind of grow older and your context, your life context changes, it can become more and more difficult to meet people who would be potential future spouse. And so the thing I want to point out here is don't hesitate to ask. Ask your parents if they know someone, maybe through another family connection, that might be also looking for a spouse. Might sound weird, but this isn't something that needs to just happen by sort of whatever movie you like, where you're off on a walk and you stumble and all of a sudden there's the guy and you meet and it's all just this magical thing. That's just really not how it usually happens in life. So be practical. Ask pastors in your church. Maybe they have connections with other pastors in churches who have young people or people in different stages of life who are looking to be married but haven't found a spouse right now, and maybe the connections can be made that way. I think we need to begin thinking together as a church, as a body, and then even between churches about how we can help in this way. So if you're in that station in life, you're single and you want to be married, you're not finding someone, begin talking about that with others in the body. And let's think about this together. It's not something just for you to sort of try to solve or figure out on your own, or just wait for someone to kind of wander into your life. There's things that we can pursue and grow in together. I think there's things that we haven't tried that we should probably be thinking about as we want to connect godly people from different places who are pursuing marriage and aren't finding someone in their context. Maybe there's no women, and no unmarried women in your church, and you're a man and you're seeking marriage, and maybe the next church over has a bunch and they're also looking for men to marry. So let's think about that together as a body. Let's discuss that together, and let's grow in that. And Lord willing, we'll be able to help those who find themselves in that place. So that's just a start on what you can do if you find yourself in that situation. The next question we want to address next week is the question of celibacy. How do I know if I have the gift of celibacy? Do I need to be married? And we will look at that one next time together.